Good evening, everybody. Today we are going to be doing a response video from this gentleman here. His YouTube channel is The Wizard of Cause. I've been watching him for quite some time. And then just so you know, if you're a part of my regular audience, so I watch all kinds of different YouTubers, right? I watch people far left, people that are kind of in the center. Then I watch people that entertain the most loftiest of conspiracy theories, right? So I go all throughout the spectrum, right? And, I agree with some things, I disagree with other things, and some things I just watch to expand my horizons. And in this gentleman's case here, I think he makes great content. I respect his opinions, but for the most part, disagree with the majority of what he says. But he does seem like a decent enough guy, and I think that he acts in good faith, and I respect him and respect his work. But I kind of wanted to break down some of his commentary in this last video here. There's another one I'm going to be doing a response to as well, in discussion, a discussion that he has with his audience regarding conspiracy theorists, right? That one's going to be a little bit bigger, but this one is totally unscripted. I actually don't really need a script in order to respond to this, but let me drop a few little opinions here as we go through the video. And like I said, this isn't to berate this guy or insult him at all. I think he's a good guy, and like I said, I respect his work and his opinion. So let us go ahead and move forward and do a little bit of a response-tizing.
Now, isn't it? Just a few more days until our national nightmare is over. We will go and cast our votes in the 2020 election, and as we all know, once the votes are cast and tallied and a winner has been decided, both sides will shake hands, proceed with a peaceful transition of power, whatever that may be, and everything will go back to being fine. And I'm kidding, this isn't the truth. But it is an interesting thing to think about, especially as we're standing sort of right on the precipice of this being, the future being the present. And it got me thinking about what a post-election world will probably look like for us. Now, we're still going to have coronavirus, and there's still going to be loads of people out there who don't believe it's real, much like climate change or the, curvature of the Earth. And
So as you can see, he has he has the mainstream opinion of conspiracy theorists, right? There's thousands and thousands of healthcare professionals, scientists, politicians, all kinds of people from all walks of life that not necessarily think that the coronavirus itself is fake, but that it's overblown, which if you care anything at all about the relative data and the science surrounding it, then you would also agree. If this wasn't being pushed throughout the media every single day, chances are most people in the world would have no idea anything was different. But of course, let's go ahead and do all kinds of crazy lockdown measures, which are absolutely killing millions of people all over the world. Let's just completely destroy the world's economy. Anyways, that's a whole nother video for itself. But obviously some gaslighting in here. But that's okay. Let's keep going forward. And also associating people that disagree with climate change, which again, there's thousands of scientists and other reputable people that disagree with the agenda of climate change. I don't think anybody necessarily thinks that it's fake. It's that the people that are questioning the climate change agenda, which is well documented, it has nothing to do with climate change. It's about government and institutional control, which is also another gigantic video.
And in the course of this, well, we're going to keep rolling along with so many of the problems we have now, but in a slightly different format. Now, what would a post-Trump world look like? Let's just, for the purpose of a thought experiment, assume that this election is, when the results come out, we're going to find a Democratic landslide, right? So the Trump supporters, the hardcore Trumpists in Congress, a lot of them will be swept out, replaced with milquetoast moderate Democrats, most likely. And Trump, let's just say, let's live in a fantasy land here where he accepts the election results and leaves with dignity and grace. Well, as we know, he's not going to go quietly into some dignified post-president.
So he says that this is a thought experiment, but honestly, my perception of this is that he believes that Trump is going to be voted out. And why would I believe that? Well, I mean, just kind of listen to his words and his tonality and everything, and that I think that's what he believes. But I could be wrong, which couldn't be further from the truth. And and you can almost tell. You can almost always tell the media that people consume when it comes to much of their worldview, right? And how they look at things, right? When I have some friends of mine. I had a friend that just told me that he went and early voted for Biden, right? And overall, the guy's kind of anti-establishment, but you can tell, he's like, oh yeah, Trump is just super racist or whatever, right? He's got kind of that theme, right? Which I don't like Trump myself, but not for the same reason that the Democratic type people dislike him for, right? They don't like him because, oh, he's racist, or, oh, can you believe he tweeted these things or whatever, right? Which is ridiculous on its face, right? If Trump is a racist, then what is Joe Biden, right? I mean, honestly, let's look at things here without the overshadowing of the media narrative over it, right? I mean, Joe Biden gave the eulogy for Strom Thurmond, one of the most prolific racists in American political history. He gave the eulogy for him. Super buddy with him and with Robert Byrd, also another KKK member. So I mean, honestly, if it was Trump that gave the eulogy for Strom Thurmond, that is all we would hear in the media every day. Remember, Trump, do you disavow Strom Thurmond after giving me his eulogy? I mean, it's the guy Joe Biden opposed busing. He wrote the crime bill. I mean, honestly, if we're gonna hate people for being racist or whatever, then it should cancel out both of these guys, right? That's what it should. It should cancel out Trump and it should cancel out Biden, because if that's the barometer for our hatred for a candidate, then everybody should be hating Biden equally, but they don't, and they don't consider Biden a racist either. Why is that? Well, because the media doesn't talk about it. And if the media didn't talk about it, well, it wouldn't be true, because the media is what is manifesting much of the popular opinion as far as it comes to politics. Now, and there's a lot of other people that push back against that, right? And the other people would say, oh, well, all people, they just listen to Fox News or One American News Network or whatever. Well, okay. I mean, it goes the same way too, right? You'll hear the people on the Trump side of things like, the WHO is corrupt because of China. Well, yes, the WHO is corrupt, but it's not because of China. It's because of Bill Gates and Bill Gates' organizations that are running the World Health Organization. It is a Bill Gates organization. So, anyways, another huge video. Let's continue.
See retirement the way so many others do. Quite the opposite. Because what is it that exists at the core of Donald Trump? It's not an interest in civic or political policy matters, not in the slightest. It's not helping other people. It's definitely not humanitarianism of any kind. But it's TV. It's being a TV host. And to be honest with you, for the last 3 years and change, that's kind of what we've had heading up the country. Less of a commander-in-chief and more of a default primetime network host. You can tell because how eager he is to talk about ratings, even if those ratings come from press conferences where he is supposed to be soberly and solemnly addressing a national tragedy.
So that's kind of interesting. It's an interesting take, and you can see kind of what the media consumption of this gentleman would be. It's definitely not a well-rounded, and there's definitely very little dissenting opinion that I'm sure is being listened to with any type of open mind, and and that's normally how it is, right? Our internet presence is an echo chamber. It's a bubble, right? It's our own little individual echo chamber bubbles, and that's how people get stuck in this left-right paradigm and somehow believe that it's legitimate in any way, shape, or form. But that's the way that the internet is designed. We're all in our little echo chamber bubbles, each one of us, right? Our search history, our activity online, the things that we watch, the things that we respond to, all of the various tech company algorithms, Facebook, Twitter, Google, all of them. Everything that we do is tracked, monitored, and crafted to each one of us specifically, okay? So you can see that this gentleman's echo chamber is, largely the anti-Trump mainstream narrative, right? Oh, he's a racist. He's just a talk show guy, right? But here's the thing. I don't think that this guy here, or most people that hate Trump vehemently, even understand why people like Trump, right? And that's the thing. They view Trump supporters as these racist, hateful people, which couldn't be further from the truth, right? So I went to 2 Trump rallies, right? I wanted to see how it went. Wanted to see what the atmosphere was like. It couldn't be anything further from the lies that the mainstream media tell you, right? It was filled with people that were super happy, totally loving, people from all walks of life. I live in Arizona, so mixed crowd. Plenty of people from all walks of life, all kinds of different people, and everybody was super cool, super happy. The atmosphere at this event was nothing but joy, just pure American spirit, which was great. Now I could have easily gotten myself kicked out of there by trying to discuss who backs Trump and what his motivations are and things like that. But you know what? The spirit of these people's support for Trump, I can get on board with, right? It's the American way, freedom, liberty, all that good stuff, right? But again, that's just not exactly what his administration's about. So, anyways, my whole point to that was our echo chamber bubbles, and it's well documented. It's not like some kind of theory I'm making up, right? That's how social media and the internet and everything is designed, right? They see us liking one thing, and then that's what gets attracted into our search bubble. So, and that ends up forming people's opinions.
Forget the tragedy. Did you see my ratings? You see where I'm going with this. But let's say he leaves office. Where's he going to go? To TV, of course. Maybe he'll try to bring OANN up into the mainstream more, simply because they refuse at any time not to lick a square inch of his boots. Or maybe Fox News will take him on to try and maintain some ratings pull with the MAGA set, which themselves are an exceedingly and exceptionally loyal media market. I mean, seriously, MAGA folks make the most frothing at the mouth K-pop stands seem tame by comparison.
So that's the thing, right? So this is how our political system is designed. It's this false left-right paradigm, right? We have the CNN, MSNBC, and everything right there, and then you have the Fox News, OANN, and yeah, that's pretty much it on the right side of things. But that's how it's designed, right? So you can tell that his perception of the people on the Fox News side of the equation, he sees them as these inferior beings, right? Inferior people. I just don't think that he understands the perspective of the Trump people, and that's the thing. We have a lack of understanding on both sides, which is exactly how everything is supposed to be, right? We're supposed to be divided. The left versus right, the Democrats versus the Republicans, the atheists versus the religious, all of it. It is all designed to keep humanity separate so that we never actually look at who's behind the curtain. We never look at who's really pulling the power, the strings of the power structure from behind the scenes, right? We never look at that. Most people don't. And if you even try to discuss these things with people, they just kind of glaze over and they're responsible. Well, Trump is racist, or Biden's backed by China. Like, okay, I mean, that's just the way that it is. But that's how it's all designed. We're all designed to be kept into this false paradigm, so that humanity never unites, right? This post-election thing, there's never going to be any reconciliation between Democrats and Republicans in this country. And why? Why not? Is it because they're just so fundamentally different? No, not at all. Most people want the same exact thing in life. They want to, have a peaceful life, be able to take care of their health, take care of their family. The vast majority of people, that's what they want, right? The dividing lines are mostly completely trivial things, right? Like, oh, what's the tax rate going to be, right? Oh, gosh, you don't want more taxes. Wow, that's because you don't like schools, right? I mean, it's just, the whole thing is just a big gaslighting fiasco. But that's the whole point, right? We're all supposed to be divided so that we never look at, oh, hey, why is our money system controlled by a privately owned bank with the Federal Reserve? Why do all of our candidates have, shady billionaires running things from behind the scenes, right? It's not, people aren't voting for Trump, people aren't voting for Biden, they're just different factions of the billionaire class. That's all that they are. But at the end of the day, they all pay their respects to the people behind the scenes. Who would that be? Oh, well, it'd be the International Monetary Fund, the banking system, huge corporations, the people calling the shots at the World Economic Forums, the powerful higher-ups over at the UN, things like that. The thing is, no matter who is president, the same people are going to get theirs at the end of the day, right? The Zionist agenda is going to move forward. The war machine is going to move forward. The banking system is going to continue its power grab. I mean, look at the difference between Obama and Trump. Let's just say that instead of looking at them as Obama or Trump, right? Let's just say the president of 2015 and the president of 2020, right? Whoever they might be. If you put down on paper what their qualifications, what their achievements, and what they did are, it'd be really hard to tell the difference. drone strikes, paying trillions of dollars to the banks for bailouts, letting the pharmaceutical industry do whatever they want, continuing to give the United Nations whatever they want, supporting all our, just everything that the system does, it's going to do regardless of which empty meat suit is sitting in the office of the presidency. That's really it. Anyways, let's continue. I don't want to make this too long.
So what happens, though, when we have a return to TV host Trump, this time doing a Tucker Carlson news-style show? Well, we're going to hear more of the messages that we've heard this entire time. Messages being that media which does not support the MAGA narrative and exalt the dear leader will continue to be lambasted as fake, as propaganda, as fake news through and through. Harsh questions or mean questions. But in addition to that, another area of division and distrust, which the Trump...
So that's the other thing too, right? So most people just, they never question where their media is coming from, right? Where's the media coming from, right? It's coming from 5 different corporations, which all of the higher-ups, the CEOs, and all the executive boards and everything, they might as well be the same exact people. They're all intertwined like this. They all work together, they run in the same circles, and they all have the same agenda, which is, again, supporting the people up at the top, the corporate class, the elite class, the billionaire class, whatever you want to call it. The left wing would call it the 1%. The right wing would call it the globalist agenda, right? It's the same people, and that's the thing. Nobody ever really thinks about that. Nobody also ever thinks about, what the government influence is on these different organizations. For instance, did you know that every single alphabet agency in this country, Freudian slip or what? In this country, they all have a media liaison. FBI, DEA, CIA, NSA, they all have these media liaisons where they work directly, and probably the most guilty of this would be the CIA. They work directly with the news producers, the news producers, the Hollywood productions, and the music industry, everything, right? They work in all of these different areas, right? And then in return, Hollywood gets to use their tanks and their locations and all kinds of different things, intelligence, whatever it might be. And so the media producers, they create the content as the government wants them to create the content. And then, of course, they get to use things in return. So, it's a win-win situation, but it's a lose-lose for us because the general people just don't ever really think about it. But then where does the news come from? Well, it comes from a centralized location. It comes from the Associated Press. So, it all trickles down. There's very few people actually doing any type of actual journalism. It's typically just people reading corporate messages off of a teleprompter. So when he says fake news, it's probably the best thing that has come out of the Donald Trump presidency is calling out the news as fake news, which it absolutely is. It is a propaganda mouthpiece. If you look at the Smith-Mundt Act, you'll also see that propaganda is absolutely explicitly legal in the United States and is used on a regular basis. You can go back to Operation Mockingbird, which showed that numerous CIA agents were working within the mainstream media here in the United States of America. So the examples are never ending, and then you'll see all of the different collusion between the media organizations and the political parties. I mean, it's government propaganda. So when you somehow say, oh, well, fake news, or calling it fake news, well, yeah, it is fake news because it is literally government propaganda, government and corporate propaganda. And not only that, then going higher above the government influences, you have the World Economic Forum. Well, the World Economic Forum is an organization that has membership with that is comprised of all of the most powerful mega ultra Fortune 500 companies in the world, right? All over the world, all these different organizations. All of the major corporations are members of the World Federation of Advertising. So they are also able to craft the narrative through their advertising. So their advertising, which the best example of this in modern times is coronavirus. Every single corporation, all at the same time, came out with, oh, the new normal, contactless this is the new normal, get ready for the new normal. Now that everybody's working at home, now that the new normal is here. does anybody with two brain cells to rub together think that that is somehow coincidental, that every corporation in the world all came out with the same advertising scheme at the same exact time? Well, no, because it's absolutely deliberate. And you can go onto the World Economic Forum website, go over to their World Federation of Advertisers, and they have their coronavirus messaging book, right? So, anyways, that's just another sector of the messaging. So yes, it is all propaganda. It is fake news, and it is specifically designed to control the thoughts and opinions of the people that are hearing the message. So, anyways, let's move onward for this video here.
Campaign and movement are largely centered around is also sowing serious distrust of our basic democratic process. So let's say that we have a Biden administration and we've...
So, you hear this being used in the mainstream media as well, that people, have a distrust in our democratic establishment, our processes or institutions and things like that. Where exactly has any of these organizations earned our trust? I mean, where? Which organization? The war machine that has been colluding with various organizations to drop bombs all over the world for absolutely no reason. We're dropping bombs on mosques and churches and women and children all over the world for literally no reason other than power games being played by the elites. Should we be trusting them? The military? Should we trust them? The ones that told us that there were the WMDs that we need to be chasing down? I mean, who are we supposed to trust? Are we supposed to trust the Diebold voting machines? Is that the institution that we should be trusting? Or what about Microsoft's election guard? Should we be trusting that? Definitely no conflicts of interest there, right? So, when the whole reason that I was even going to make any type of response to this video was because of that phrase that he just said. That phrase irks me, big time irks me, because the established order has given us absolutely no reason to have earned our trust at this point. Why should we trust them? Should we trust politicians? Why would we trust them? They all lie. Every one of them lie. Every single candidate campaigns the exact same way. They campaign in one way and then they rule the other way immediately, just like Trump did, just like Obama did, just like Clinton did, just like the Bushes, all of them in modern history. They campaign one way, they get into office, and then they push the agenda forward. No matter who is in office, the same agenda moves forward. The wars, the banks, the corporations, and guess who loses? All of us. Regardless of how you vote, regardless of if you vote, regardless of if you watch CNN or Fox News, we all lose. And that's because, again, people are looking at the surface level of politicians, a rudimentary look at the political structure, and they never look at the machine behind the scenes. Why is it that you think that it takes $1 billion to run a presidential campaign in the United States of America? If that doesn't tell you that our institutions, our democratic institutions, are not just flawed and have absolutely no warrant for any level of trust from any of us, but I mean, it just tells us that that is just a symptom of an irreversibly broken system. Onward.
Got a bunch of possibly blue dog Dems running Congress. Well, over the course of that term, from now until the midterms, and then from the midterms to the next presidential election, we will consistently hear narratives spilled by Trump and his allies and propagated by his more hardcore set that elections cannot be trusted. We have evidence of this because in the same way that we, the dejected masses who rallied around this different kind of
All right. So, anyways, so we can't trust the voting again. There's unlimited examples of voter fraud throughout the era. There's recent voter fraud, right, with the last Project Veritas video, whatever. But I mean, look at Broward County. Broward County is just a cesspool for illegal voter fraud and illegal activity, right? But that's besides the point, right? It doesn't matter. You're right. You're going to get the same rhetoric out of Trump because Trump is still going to be president. I assure you that at the end of this election, you're going to be shocked. Everybody, oh my gosh, I can't believe Donald Trump won again. Oh my gosh, how were the polls wrong? How was 538 wrong? Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden had a 99% chance of winning. Come on now. Here's the thing. Trump was ordained to win. his backers, the people that rule his campaign, the people behind the scenes, he's already been chosen, right? Joe Biden is a fall guy, just like Hillary Clinton was a fall guy. And somehow they took the most unlikable candidate in American history with Hillary Clinton, and they took somebody that who she actually had enthusiasm for. People were actually, oh yeah, first woman, I'm with her. People actually had enthusiasm, believe it or not, for Hillary Clinton. On the other hand, all Joe Biden has is not Trump. That's it. He just says not Trump, right? So, and here's the thing, and that's all by design, right? It's all fake. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which one of them get into office. The same agenda is gonna push forward, regardless. The banks always win. The war machine always wins. The people always lose. Period. Everything else is just a distraction. At the end of the day, that's all it is. Why are there only two parties? Think about it. Why are there only two parties? Well, that's because they get to control both sides of it, right? The best way to control the opposition is to lead it yourself.
Political leader, political candidate, in order to buck the trend, drain the swamp, and restore some kind of normality. Well, we know for a fact, because he didn't get elected, that the conspiracy is real. The election was a fraud. It was stolen. Everything the media reports on is a lie, no matter how many stats and facts and figures they throw out there. No matter how much reality is shoved in my face, I'm not going to believe any of it, because the dear leader was not reelected, and we simply can't trust this democratic process anymore.
So, quick question. So, when Trump wins, what's your response going to be? Are you going to be able to lower your trust of the mainstream media, or are you still going to look at them as somehow being arbiters of truth and justice in the world? Because I mean, that's what's going to happen. They did it before. And that's the thing. I understand how people don't see it. I do, right? Because again, we're in our echo chamber bubbles that are specifically created by the algorithms with the information that we consume. So it's a unique problem in the internet age, right? Where, it's not just, hey, I watch CNN and then CBS sometimes. Now it's, I'm in a specifically crafted, personally crafted filter bubble that I am stuck in, that I can't get out of, and I'm only able to see my worldview through this bubble, which then adds to it, continues to confirm your bias on it, So, anyways, when Trump wins, are you then going to be able to look at things and go, well, gosh, maybe they were lying. Maybe the polls were lying. All of these stats and facts and evidence that they put in front of me, and yet Trump still won. That is so strange. How did that happen? Think about it.
To mention that any actual sorts of activism which is to follow will undoubtedly be labeled as some socialist, communist, Antifa plot, the way everything seems to be that falls outside of the realm of Bagaland. And these supporters will only become more and more hardcore as they go along. These narratives and these messages will continue to spread. The propaganda sowing distrust in nearly every conceivable institution that exists within the country outside of corporate establishments.
Which establishment should we be trusting? Which one? The ones that waste all of our money? Which ones? I mean, which ones have not lied to us? Which ones have not completely abrogated their duty to the American people? I mean, trusting any of these establishments is pure insanity at this point. They've shown us over and over and over again, the government as a whole. We can talk about individual entities or whatever you want to say. They've showed that they lie. They cannot be trusted. They violate our constitutional rights every single day. Every single email, phone call, text message, everything is tracked, traced, and monitored completely against the Fourth Amendment, completely against all of our civil rights, but it happens anyways. We have a war machine that goes on. Nobody wants war, but yet the war machine goes on. It keeps on trucking. Right now, we're in, how many countries are we in right now? Actively dropping bombs? How many countries do we have military bases? I think it's like 80 some. I mean, who are we supposed to trust, man? Who? Please explain which of these organizations or government groups, who are we supposed to trust? The voting process? The voting process where you go in and the machine is connected to Wi-Fi, which, shouldn't be. The one where you go in and you press your vote and it votes for somebody else, or the ballots on fire, or Broward County. Look at all of the different, I know I know it's not something that's pushed up in your particular filter bubble, but there's plenty of evidence of voter fraud and voter manipulation that has been happening, since we've both been alive, man.
We'll continue to have shoveled on us. And as the inevitable discord which arises from whatever the election results might be, the entrenched mindsets of the diehard supporters and the diehard opponents will only continue to deepen. Now, there will be a video coming out shortly about radicalism. And as part of this video about radicalism, I'd also like to, depending on when you're seeing this video, to join me on Thursday, I believe it's November 5th? Yeah, the 5th of November, actually. We'll be hosting a live stream here with, a rather interesting cat. He is actually a rather prolific ex-skinhead neo-Nazi who now speaks openly and more aggressively and publicly about de-radicalization. And now I'm hoping to have this chat because going forward, especially into 2020,
Anyways, I think that's about good for there. Anyways, like I said, I respect this guy and what he does, but it's just interesting. Everybody looks at things on such a surface level when the real story of politics in the United States is completely, for the most part, done behind closed doors that we don't see. It's all big, huge manipulation games on both ends of the spectrum. Different motivations, different players behind the scenes, different donors, shady money. I mean, like I said, most of this stuff is completely behind the scenes, right? And if you want to know who you're voting for, you've got to look at who is financing them, right? Like, who finances Trump? Oh, I don't know. Sheldon Adelson, a lot of hardcore Zionists, hardcore neocons. Who's in Trump's cabinet? Who is it? Well, he's got the war machine, the bankers, the pharmaceutical industry, all of the key players that want to maintain control in this country back Trump. And that, my friend, is why Trump is going to win again. And the overall message of America first and, wanting to have freedom and liberty and trying to somehow get back to some sort of, American ideals, I don't see what's wrong with that, So I can identify with that side of the Trump thing. But then again, on the Democrat side of things, I can see, wanting to care for your community and things on the more liberal side of things. I can agree with that too. And that's the problem in this country is that most people in the everyday world all really just want the same things, but they've allowed the media, the entire spectrum of the media, to manipulate them into hating one another instead of realizing what the real problems are. And they never ever get to the point where they're actually inspecting the power structures that are really pulling the strings. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed that. Hit that thumbs up button. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. We'll be in YouTube purgatory for another week, I think. If my channel's not completely deleted, as speaking outside of the official narrative is definitely a big no-no. So, anyways, appreciate you guys watching. Check back tomorrow for another video. Take care.